My name is Barbara Condo, and I'm the director of One Way Farm Children's Home in Fairfield, Ohio. And the subject matter I'm going to speak about is one that is very difficult to realize or recognize. I work with children who have emotional problems or have been severely abused. I've been doing this for 40 years. And in that time, I've seen just a movement of how children are abused and neglected. But the thing that is most disturbing now is what is happening with children being sold, or you say trafficked, for various reasons. If you think about it, a mother who is on heroin or meth, and she needs a fix really bad. The only commodity she has is her children, and they now sell them. It used to be I would get a trafficked child at about age 15, and of course we dealt with that, but now the age has dropped to 10. I'm going to use some terminology that may not be comfortable, but it is the terminology that's used for these children. One is, they're clean meat. They're going after children who are younger because of disease. I'll give you an illustration. You have an 11-year-old young girl. She has a brother and a sister, age 2 and 4. She runs out of milk. She goes to her mother, who is a heroin addict, and says, "I don't have any milk for the kids." The mother says, "Well, I need a fix." And she looks at the 11-year-old and she says, "I know how we can get everything taken care of." And she calls her drug dealer and sells her child. The saddest part of this is that the child, out of love for the mother and the siblings, she does whatever they want. And that enters her into a world of trafficking. That's so very sad. It's so very sad. When these children come, they walk in, they shake like little puppies that have just found a new home. If they're brother and sister, we let them cling to each other for several days so they know we're not going to hurt them. We take and try to assure them. You see, it used to be that when a child came and they were so neglected, they had no clothes, their teeth were bad, they needed psychological services, all of these things, a lot of cosmetic things, and we took care of all that. And the child began to understand that we're there to him. It's not that way with trafficked children. If you take a trafficked child and you buy them new clothes and have their hair done and everything, they'll melt down, sometimes end up in the Lindner Center, because they think you want them to perform, especially if they're young, like age 9, 10. So what do? We have this child, it's staring, it's unreasonable to work with, draws violent pictures, decides they want to hit people. And what we found is that animals can do something that we can't do. All the girls sleep with cats. And what happens is when they get upset, they go into their bedroom and crawl in bed with their cat. And they begin to tell the cat all of who the perpetrator was, all the horrible things that happened to them. And then they slowly go to sleep. Well, as they see us take care of that cat, take it to the vet, feed it, pet it, love it, 50% of their trust was acquired in the bed with the cat. Now, being they have talked to the cat, they feel that we also would covet their information. And that's exactly what happens. When they're upset, they sit and cry, they hold their cats. I have some amazing cats. I have a cat that has been there for 15 years. There's a bench as you come in the door. That cat sits on that bench all the time, except for when a new child comes in. And when a new child comes in, he jumps down, he runs to the empty bed, jumps up in the empty bed, and sleeps the first night with the child. After the first night, he runs back to the bench. Which shows that even animals understand the desperation of these children. Well, the boys all wanted things, and they don't do well with cats. So they have ferrets and frogs and turtles and guinea pigs and anything else they can find except snakes. And they've taken on the responsibility of taking care of them. How I know that this is working, I was over at the shelter one day, and this boy had his ferret, and it was jumping all over, and he wanted me to come and see the ferret, but the ferret wouldn't sit still long enough, and he says to the ferret, "You better sit still, because if you don't, Daddy is going to put you back in your cage." You see, he grabbed a hold of a parenting situation. He grabbed a hold of loving something because he's not capable of loving himself. This was a real breakthrough with the kids. Well, I had a kid, he went out and tried to damage someone's car, and I told him, well, you try to damage someone's car, that's a felony, and they'll arrest you. But I said, they also will come and take your children. And he looked at me very strangely, and I said, that's right, because you would be considered an unfit parent. So I'm going to take your guinea pig. He cried, he begged that I didn't take the guinea pig, that he had learned his lesson, he would never do anything like that again. Just don't take my guinea pig. What that did is that reinforced the fact that I know that these children who have had everything ripped away from them, who have lost hope, have lost any self-respect they had, can be regained through this individual need of having an animal. It's very sad to see some of these children, because if they could only get what's happened to them and do it like this is what life has done for me, but this is what life can do for me. So I stress that. I stress it. You've gone through this terrible thing. But what we have problems with is we have problems like parents calling and saying, oh, I guess you're okay and you're getting 3 meals a day, but I just got beat up by my boyfriend. Well, that's so disturbing to these children. So we have to sit down and actually show them how that conversation is no responsibility of theirs. And it takes a lot of time to work with these children. But we're saving children. I've cared for over 10,000 children. They contact us constantly. We know. And one of the things that one of them said was, people support you to take care of us while we're here. But what they don't realize is that we're being taken care of for our lifetime because of what we learn here. We learn how to take care of ourselves. We learn right from wrong. You almost have to see their faces to realize what I'm talking about. Their faces express anger, and only after a period of time do they express hope. I had a young lady that was used by 3 members of the family from age 2 to 13. She had been in almost every psychological ward there is from Cleveland down here. And when they brought her to us, they said, we don't know if you can do anything with her. She's high suicide. She's difficult to handle. And I said, well, we'll try. When she came, she had a coat with a hood on it. And she would not remove the coat. She would not sleep in the bed. She wanted nothing to do with the bed. So she would crawl in the closet at night and go to sleep. The way I deal with that is this. That was the minimum of security she could have without being raped for 12 years. When she's ready, she'll come out of that closet. And the staff said, but she should be in her bed at night. She should, but her mental health is more important. When she's ready, she'll be in bed. One night, they were doing bed checks. There she was, snuggled up in bed with the hood over her face and head. Well, she's got to take her coat off. No, she doesn't. When she's ready, she'll take her coat off. Eventually, she took her coat off, but she couldn't be around any males. Accidentally, one day, I had a work crew up at the office, and I forgot she was in the office. And when she saw all these men, she went hysterical and began to scream and cry. And I said, wait a minute. This is going to be the beginning of your life. And I asked each one of the men to say who they were, if they were married, had kids, and where they worked and everything. And so each one of them, all 7 of them did that. And she stood there. But one of the things she did while they were all talking, she took the hood off of her head. I knew then that we had begun to move. This individual was also DD. Developmental problems, along with her fear of being sexually attacked. She graduated from Fairfield High School with perfect attendance and straight A's. You see, it's just, can you take the time to overlook the different things that they do that are actually for their protection? These are all protective modes. And that's what we look at them for. People say, well, do you ever hear from kids that were there? Yeah. One day I was at a restaurant. A man walked up to me, a young man. He said, do you remember me? And I didn't. And he said, well, I'm one of the kids you kicked out of there. Because I don't kick that many kids out, but he said, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm now a student at UC. But there's one thing that I'll never forget in my life, and it's Christmas. You got all these people to buy us Christmas, and you carried these bags in, and we all had these big bags of presents. I'll never forget that. But I wanted to ask you something. Can I come in Christmas Eve and deliver those big bags to these kids? That's true. He'll remember it the rest of his life. But hoping that the benevolence of that causes him to do the same in his life. I care for 20 children that are in crisis, that have seen a part of the world that they should have never seen. They've had to do things, just test things that you and I would just shake our head at. But they're still children, and they still can be saved as long as we take the time and the energy to make sure that we do so. You have to watch your children very closely. Don't let them go off in a room with a computer. There's people waiting for them. They could go to school one day and not come back. If I get a message to you at all, it is you must watch your children. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to talk to you. And at any time you would like to contact us, just call One Way Farm Children's Home of Fairfield, and we'd be more than glad to talk with you or to tour you. But most of all, we covet your prayers for the children we care for. Thank you.